Hey, Guoba here. Brand new relics and planar ornaments were just revealed out of nowhere on HoYoLab, so it's time to get to the math room and find out how good these sets are on some units. We have a dedicated follow-up set, unfortunately not perfect for a unit like Clara due to how it's designed. We have a dedicated dot set, incredible for compositions that have multiple dots, and finally a set beating out Quantum. Finally, we have two planar ornament sets, a Von Whack that benefits the team rather than yourself, and a new DPS ornament favoring fast DPS. These sets are clear best in slot in some units, but a trap on others, so let's see what's up. Like and sub if you're cool, and let's begin. The first set is our beloved follow-up set, the Grand Duke set that we have all been waiting for, well at least if you love follow-up units. The 2-piece is a massive 20% damage increase, but only 2 follow-ups, so that's lovely if you do love those follow-ups in your kit. The 4-piece gives a stacking attack percent boost when hitting with a follow-up. This is hit based, meaning multiple hit follow-ups have the biggest bonus. It's a 6% attack boost, stacking up to 8 times, and it lasts for 3 turns. This means if you do have a unit that doesn't spam follow-ups, but has consistent ones like a Himeko or Jing Yuan, you will be getting a large attack percent boost for the rest of your attacks in between those follow-ups, which is massive. It will be removed the next time you follow-up attack, so frequent follow-ups with little hits won't benefit from this set very well. So the main follow-up units we have are Clara, Himeko, Jing Yuan, Topaz, and Herta. Clara has a 1-hit counter attack. They can stack 3 on an ultimate counter potentially. Furthermore, you lose 10% damage from the physical set, only gaining 10% extra in follow-ups and losing 10% in skills. So every counter will give you a 6% attack percent boost, which will then immediately be removed from the next counter. This 6% attack is much less than the 25% you get from the champion set, and the potential 18% that you could get from an ultimate counter hitting 3 targets is still not enough. So for Clara, physical still reigns supreme from my calculations. Himeko, however, is eating good. She has frequent follow-ups in practice, but even if you don't follow up every turn, you now have a 24% attack buff due to her 4-hit follow-up attack, for your skills and ultimates, which do most of her damage anyway. Himeko's only options were Firesmith, one of the worst sets, and Quantum, a situationally strong set, and this new set beats both without any annoying conditions, so it's great for Himeko. Jing Yuan now has an immense best in slot in this set. The attack percent buff is way stronger than the lightning set, as his 8 to 10 stack lightning lord gives him a 48% attack buff for 3 turns, over double the power of the lightning one. He doesn't follow up that frequently, so you keep that attack buff for all of the rest of his damage. The damage percent loss is a bit sad, but he does a ton of damage in follow-ups, which now gain a 20% damage buff. And hopefully the AoE hits of his lightning lord contribute to these attack percent stacks for a lot of damage on those final stacks of the lightning lord. Topaz's whole kit is follow-ups, so the 2-piece alone is nearly as strong as 2 Fire 2 Musk. Definite best in slot with Numby having 7 hits, and Empowered Numby having 8 hits for a lot of attack percent. Herta is hard to calculate since her hits are based on enemy amount. If you have a ton of enemies, this set is really good, but her skill and ult do a ton of damage too, and that ice set is great with her high frequency ultimate. I'll wait for the Herta gods to figure this one out, but it's definitely going to be alright on her. Remember, her follow-ups aren't a big portion of her damage due to their low scaling, so that 20% damage isn't much compared to the ice damage percent. She also has a lot of attack percent sources. The second set is the Prisoner set. The 2-piece is a nice universal attack percent, which is good for those farming the follow-up set, but not the dot set necessarily. Then, for every dot the enemy has, your damage, including dots of course, will ignore 6% of the enemy's defense, up to 3 stacks. This is an 18% def ignore, which is comparable to the Quantum set's max power, but without the condition of the 4-piece Quantum. 18% def ignore is equal to about a 10% damage increase for all of your damage. Giving attack percent 2 means this could end up being a better Quantum set on some non-Quantum units if we somehow get tons of dots on the enemy one day, which is a fun thing to think about. This is obviously best in slot on any dot unit that isn't going for pure break damage. The break effect will slightly take the edge for pure break damage, but if you go in hybrid, this new set wins again. It's a great set, immediate farm for any Kafka enjoyers. Even at 2 stacks Kafka, with just her erode from her signature light cone and her own shock on a hyper carry setup, she still does more damage than the lightning set because of this def ignore. Now it's time for the planar ornaments. The first is our new Von Whack, the Penacony set. Instead of giving us that high advance forward, we now get a planetary rendezvous effect. All allies following the same element as the wearer will now get a 10% damage boost. Now this is a trap planar ornament. Planetary Rendezvous is great because of its max power at S5 and because it's a light cone. This is a planar ornament set that is replacing a broken keel or a fleet of the ageless. This set should be beating fleet though in dot teams if you don't want that tankiness. But just like you don't run Von Whack on every support, you won't run this on every support, as the 5% energy regeneration rate is less than it sounds. Broken Keel's effect resistance to help the support not lose a whole turn from CC, and the crit damage, or the tankiness and attack percent from fleet, are more important than the 5% energy regeneration rate if you have your rotation set in stone. And that 5% won't magically shave a turn off your rotation, it's a very small bonus. So Asta doesn't need Von Whack for any meaningful rotation, the only one is an E6 triple basic rotation. Jing Yuan 3-turn rotation wants Von Whack, so this set is a better Von Whack for her in this rotation unless you want that extra push forward. She's super fast anyway and will be faster than your DPS, so I think you're good on that one. Bronya doesn't need Von Whack and her tuning doesn't want to get messed up, so kill as usual. Yukong doesn't need Von Whack for any rotation. So Wolf can run Von Whack for that 3 missing energy at E0, so this is a great replacement if you do run Von Whack, to now give some extra damage percent for that Seele or Qingshui. Ella doesn't run Von Whack either. None of the Preservation use Von Whack, and finally Abundance can use Von Whack for certain rotations. If you do run those high energy rotations, this is great for extra damage percent, but remember they have to follow the same element as your healer. Our final planar ornament set is the Glamoth set. It gives a universal 12% attack buff, and then when the wearer reaches 135 speed, it gives a 12% damage buff, going to 18% at 160 speed. You won't be going for 160 speed to hit that 18%. That 18% is just a boost for those who already run that set and somehow get a speed buff from an Asta for example, or someone like Seele who self-buffs her speed by a ton. This set is good on units that have a pretty good damage distribution as well as being fast, and unlucky 134 speed breakpoints because it's 135 time. Two big contenders are Kafka and Seele. For Kafka, this set is much better than Spacing Station, especially if you're running that Asta or Jing Yuan who give a large attack buff already. Ideally though, Kafka has that patience is all you need for the maximum damage percent buff. Other dot units that do go fast can also use this set if they're not using fleet. For Seele, it won't be beating Rutilant's strong 8% crit rate, which is much better than the 12% attack, as well as that much higher 20% damage on skills and basics, which are a large portion of her damage. Furthermore, you don't need to go to 160 speed on Seele, even with her signature. 5 stacks at 122 speed, going to 150 after one skill, is more beneficial than going for 6 stacks. You lose a bunch of crit and attack stats going for 10 extra speed to hit that 160 speed. Even at E2, I think Rutilant is just nicer. She self-buffs damage percent a ton already, so that crit rate is much nicer to have. For other DPS, you won't be going fast enough to hit 160, and the 12 damage percent won't be worth versus the 20% of Rutilant when you include that 8% crit rate. Remember, for all these sets, I'm using calculations of my own or using sheets from fellow Theorycrafter friends that I've collaborated with in the past, and then modifying them. Other people may end up having different results, and you should just wait and see. The obvious winners are Jing Yuan, Kafka, Topaz, Himeko, and just dot units in general. If you run these units, you can go and farm and you won't be losing Trailblaze power. So I hope you enjoyed these new sets. Let me know how much fuel you've saved. I've got 30 fuel personally, and I will be farming this at Guoba, Topaz and Jing Yuan. Thanks to all my amazing YouTube members, thanks for watching, and have a Guoba day.